Yours, Matt Gannon. We are back. It's the finale of Boots West. Boots West started, Boots Far West started earlier in the year. Kapalua, Waialae, continued on in Phoenix, took a short break in San Francisco, and now is continuing on down at Torrey Pines in San Diego. How's it going? How are you doing? How are you dealing with the cold? Because I noted while you were here in San Francisco, the weather has been totally fine here in San Francisco. Warm, some would argue. You were colder than any human's ever been. So I was concerned when I saw the weather forecast down in San Diego. I'm a little worried about you. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it right now. I'm soft when it comes to the weather. Once I get below 68 degrees, I'm done for. I'm absolutely done for. So yeah, I hear great things about the West Coast, about the West Coast weather, and it's not as advertised. I've been freezing for now, what, 5 straight days, 4 straight days. I'm ready to go back to Florida, but Boots West has been great. The areas have been great. Just the weather is just too cold for me. Just too cold for me.
Do you think, as a Jupe Life resident, and we know what half the tour are Jupe Life residents, do you think that gives you even better Boots insights since they may be feeling the same things that you are as fellow Jupe residents?
Oh yeah, I think the first note I put in my Boots report was the pampered guys might be in for a long week. You can say whoever that is. I'm not saying anyone specifically is pampered, but it's not going to be a dome golf condition, a very well, you're getting Mai Tais after your round because you had a nice day on the course. It's going to be a grind. It's the weather. It's going to be rainy. It's going to be cold. Layer up, wear all the FootJoy Malbin you can. It's going to be tough. So I think if you're used to being in these weather, we know guys sometimes struggle in tougher weather conditions, and some guys exceed in tougher weather conditions. So take that with a grain of salt. But whoever those guys are in your head, I think you're accurate there.
This is always, we sometimes even talk about this before the pod or when we're doing Boots. Kind of first takeaway: the second you got to Torrey Pines, you took a Tesla to the course today, which was not blue collar podcasting. Last pod we talked about this being a blue collar podcast. You did blue collar and go out and get a new mic for the pod because your other mic was broken, causing some technical difficulties. So that's blue collar podcasting. But you did arrive to the course in a Tesla. You got out of the Tesla, walked onto the property. You've seen Torrey Pines on TV a million times. Don't know if you know, but they've played this course in tournaments before, as recently as a couple weeks ago. Not sure you knew about that. You get there, preconceived notions of Torrey versus what your eyes saw. First impressions of Torrey Pines South.
Yeah, so as soon as I got out of the rental Tesla, I found out that they had strokes gained at the Farmers on the South Course. I was mesmerized with how big the property is. I mean, Kapalua is big, but Torrey Pines is a damn big property. It's an awesome place if you can get to play there if you're a San Diego local. I was talking to a buddy. I think they play for $65 if you have a resident card, and if not, it's definitely like closer to 300. But just the views are astonishing down off of 4T5 green. Obviously, 3 is amazing. 17, just beautiful views. I've never been to San Diego, so this is my first time seeing it. If the weather was nice, I would have been really, really enjoying myself. But the property is massive, cool place to watch golf, a ton of room to roam and walk around. So Torrey Pines checks the boxes for sure.
Were you able to confirm that Thomas Dietrich actually won last week?
No, I didn't see him. So who knows? We don't know if he did one or not because I did not see him on property. He's usually a guy I see quick because he gets his early prep in, but I think he's elevating now. He's got to do some media. He's got to do whatever he's got to do. So he's on the tee sheet for tomorrow. I think I'm going to see him early tomorrow. But Thomas Dietrich was not on the day one Boots report, so did not see him. So who knows if he won in Phoenix?
And this is a unique Boots opportunity because there are no fans at the practice rounds. There is a Pro-Am tomorrow. One of the most challenging things about Boots is you don't know when guys are playing. You don't know what holes guys are on. Tough to figure out. But then the Pro-Am, they schedule everything. You know when the tee times are going to be. This might, from a percentage of bootsable players statistic, this might be the
Everyone
most
knows that
bootsable.
stat, yeah.
Yeah, add that to your models. This may be the most bootsable Boots that's ever bootsed.
Yeah, people are saying it because it is a massive property, and I'm only one person. I think I saw 46 of 72 guys over the hours that I was there. Obviously, some guys go out in the morning, some guys go out later, and I can't be everywhere at once. So I saw a decent percentage of the field. And tomorrow, I'm going to see a lot of the bigger names that I saw most of the big names today, but there's one or two that I missed. So I'm going to wake up early, I know exactly where everyone's going to be at specific times. So yeah, hopefully by tomorrow afternoon, I see 100% of the field. I'm not sure if we've ever seen 100% of the field. We've been close to like 80, 90% of the field when we're doing it together, which is still awesome stuff. But I think I can get to maybe close to 100 after. That's going to be a goal of mine tomorrow.
And when you see every player, it's a win-win for both the haters and the boots lovers, because there's going to be somebody who drastically outperforms their boots report, and there's going to be somebody who absolutely precision hits their boots report. That's the reality of the boots report. As we've always said a million times, it's one additional data point to add to all the other data points that you would analyze for a golf tournament. And I've said this also in the recent boots, because you've been doing most of the boots. I'm going to get back to the boot swing for the majors, maybe the Players Championship. I just love Saw. I said it a couple pods ago.
Yeah,
The TPC Saw.
it's a video game.
We've been to all these different boots courses. Sawgrass is the one that it's been gnawing at me. Like, I need to get back to Sawgrass. But I'm a consumer of your boots reports, both in the podcast format, obviously, and up on the site. And sometimes I bet guys that you say are playing bad. Sometimes I tail you on a guy that you say is playing good. Sometimes I take your analysis of the course and I'm like, yep, dead set. That's the way I'm going. Sometimes I edit it with some thoughts that I have about the course from the data. So the goal is to tie that all together and ultimately make the best decision you can make with that information. That's up on the
Yeah,
site.
100%. Even when I'm out there, I'm not taking every single thing I see and not backing it up with stats. I'm using it, like Adam said, as an additional piece of information. That's all it should be to you consumers, to you watchers. It's just an extra piece of data, because I don't know if you know, stroke gains do exist. So you can use those too. So I'm going to use everything. I'm going to use what I saw, what I wrote in the Boots report, what Adam brought out on the site, and what the strokes gains say to hopefully build another winning card. So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it. First, before we get into it, like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube or your favorite podcast network. Spotify, we bring it up every pod. One of these pods, I'm going to say Spotify is fixed, but it's not this pod, Jerry. So this isn't going to be the pod that I say that Spotify is fixed. We also, Vince, after this pod, he's going to be getting his live picks put together. He's going to get those figured out. I was thinking of something. We were talking when you were in SF. The AI obviously is just percolating everywhere in the greater San Francisco area. We were talking a lot about Vince after his famous selections at the Cuddy Masters. And we said, what happens if Vince gets too powerful? What if he gets so strong and so smart that he locks us out of the site? He says, no, I've hit so many winners on the DP in a row that I refuse to let you guys back in the site until you upload like 4 terabytes of highlights from the Kenya Open, the magical Kenya Open over time, or maybe the BMW PGA Championship. I was just thinking that today. Have you had time to reflect on any concerns that we have that Vincent might become too powerful?
Yeah, we are the only ones to have an AI betting robot on our site, and the people have been asking, is there Vincent's picks next week? And yeah, there's Vincent picks every single week. But yeah, there's a real world where Vincent locks us out of the site. Vincent takes the subscriber money. Who knows what he does? We've now got 2 AIs. You have your AI with Claude, and we have another Vinceric's ChatGPT AI. Who knows? They can join forces and become the greatest podcasters on earth. It's all a maybe. It's not a definite no. It's not a definite yes, but there's a world where that happens for sure.
So ultimately, if you support the man and the machine, we've got that up on the site. The Boots report will be up there. $9.99 for the weekly, $34.99 for the monthly. And the most important thing about the monthly right now is that next week's the Magical Kenya Open. And I don't know who we need to talk to in Nairobi. Do we need to talk to the government? Do we need to talk to the DP World Tour? But if we could get Boots for the Magical Kenya Open next week, that would be the greatest moment in Vinceric's history. So we'll keep everybody posted on that. We did this last week. We said right out of the gates, we didn't beat around the bush. We didn't say we're going to keep this a secret on the site. We said who jumped out to you as the best player on the course at the Tuesday practice rounds at Torrey Pines this week. Who was it? Who was number 1 in the eye test power rankings today out at Torrey Pines?
Yeah, it's a guy that I was pretty fond of going into this week. That's Rory McIlroy. Rory McIlroy, PGA Tour winner. Not sure if you knew. Rory McIlroy, PGA Tour winner.
Has he ever won in
And
California?
he looked, yeah, people are saying he's won in California, maybe at Pebble one of those weeks ago. But yeah, Rory McIlroy out there looked really solid. And in terms of how we saw the course playing this week, different from the Farmers, or just how I think the course is playing, if I never saw the Farmers, if I didn't know they had strokes gained, I think, not a hot take, being elite in terms of strokes gained, total driving, being a positional bomber plus a term that we've coined over the months is absolutely massive this week. I think
And,
that's
and
just step
before
one you need to check. Go
Before I
ahead.
just quickly on positional bomber plus, because there's people listening probably who have never listened to the pod before. This was a term we invented. Did we invent this at Players last year? Is this when we invented
Yes,
positional bomber plus?
players.
So positional
Yeah.
bomber plus is someone who isn't just a pure bomber. They're not Minwoo. They're not just swinging out of their shoes and wherever it goes, it goes. They're plus distance and plus accuracy. That's the positional bomber. The positional bomber plus adds a little bit more distance than just the positional bomber. So if I had to who would you define? Scotty's obviously the 1A of positional bomber plus. That's when we invented it because we needed a way to describe Scotty's driving. A positional bomber, someone who hits it a little bit shorter. Uh, maybe a Corey Connors. Is he what distance do you need to be at least positional bomber?
I would Colin Morikawa is definitely a positional bomber. He
Okay.
is he's plus in distance. Like he gets touted as a plotter, but he hits it further than the averages. So Colin Morikawa is probably the best positional bomber, and then positional bomber plus are just the elite total drivers of the world who could hit it long and straight. So being a positional bomber plus, there's not many of them because that is the best skill to have as a professional golfer, is massive this week. And Rory obviously is that. And Rory with the eye test looked to be that today. He looked really confident over the ball. And this is a course he doesn't play much, which I think could be something to maybe concern or take note of, because if you don't play here often, like you have to play this event, obviously. I mean, you might not like it here. Like Tommy Fleetwood never plays here, probably doesn't like it here. Rory doesn't play here much, maybe doesn't like it here, but Rory rhymes with Torrey. I think the vibes are coming, and I do think Rory makes a ton of sense, and he looks like he makes a ton of sense.
And I will say, Rory has played here a little bit more recently, not the most last couple of years, but when he has come here, he's played great. He was T5 at the 2019 Farmers. He was T3 at the 2020 Farmers. He was T7 when the U.S. Open was here a few years ago. And we've seen Rory plenty of times at Boots. And what I was curious about is we've considered him from a strokes gain prep perspective.
I was thinking about this today. Yeah,
he's on the low end of the strokes gain prep docket. Like Colin is strokes gain prep king. No one takes strokes gain prep more seriously than Colin. True.
Besides Jesper.
Besides Jesper Svensson and the rest of the Vikings of the Americans, Colin does.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so Rory, we've seen deeply unserious times, and that hasn't necessarily affected his play. At Pinehurst, he was as unserious preparation as I've ever seen any golfer ever have, and he almost won the tournament.
That's what I was thinking about today. How that Pinehurst boots.
So I'm not asking this in the sense of do you think this is going to impact his play, because I'm just curious. Coming off the win, he's trying to be Scotty Scheffler now, another strokes gain prep master, Scotty Scheffler, and his caddy. Strokes gain caddy, another area of weakness for Rory. We see Ted, for example, walking the course 24/7. I've never seen Rory's caddy walking the course ever. What did you see from him today?
Yeah, this was honestly some of the best prep I've ever seen from Rory in person. I believe he played 18. He played 9 alone, and then he went back and played 9 with Tommy Fleets and Lucas Glove. What a group.
Wow.
So yeah, he had a nice little contingent with him. He had I believe a coach with him. Obviously his caddy Harry was there, and so it was a girl with him. It was not his wife. I did not know who it was, but she was with him the whole entire time. And the TaylorMade guys, obviously. So, but Rory was taking it seriously, like as serious as he's ever taken it. And from the boots that we've been to, Rory's never won. He's obviously mixed before. We picked him at the U.S. Open, but this was some of the strongest pre-tournament prep I've ever seen from Rory for sure. So I think he wants it. Like you said, he wants to be more like Scotty, take that whatever preparation Scotty takes seriously, and he's going about things a different way.
Saw a good take before the pod. I hopped on Twitter from Keith, friend of the program, an all-around good guy, mentioning, and I thought it was a great point, and something we talked about on the pod after Rory won at Pebble, is his U.S. Open record of late. And he has been tremendous in the U.S. Open for many years in a row, even before that near miss at Pinehurst last year. This is obviously the U.S. Open course that has hosted 2 U.S. Opens previously, both won by top level players at the time. Obviously, Tiger and Rahm was in great form when he won here as well. We've seen Farmers, and I think one of the questions that people would have is how different is the course going to play between what it played a few weeks ago? And what I will say is that US Open, like the US Open stats from when the tournament was here in 2021, look pretty similar to the Farmers. So I don't like, from purely, again, there is strokes gained available for this event. It's not massively different between when it's been a US Open event and when it's been the Farmers. But we saw very tough Farmers a few weeks ago. From a condition standpoint, are you seeing a U.S. Open golf course? You've been to the majors the last year or so. You've seen all those courses. How does it compare from just the test standpoint and what you're seeing out there?
Yeah, 100%. And I shout out Keith again. I talked to him today before I went out there, and he said he spoke to some of the rules officials and asked them if they were going to change the par, meaning make a par 5, the easiest par 5, into a par 4, just to make the scoring a little bit different if they needed to. And he said no. The courses, meaning the rules official, said no. We've been out here. The course is in great shape. Great meaning tough shape. And I do think, remember the weekend at the Farmers, very tough, very windy, very rainy. We might get that for 3.5, 4 days here. So it's going to be tough. I believe Vegas has to score around 8, which is a tough test for sure. It's going to be a grind through and through. And this is going to be as close as a U.S. Open test that we're going to see this early in the season, maybe ever. So definitely going to be a great watch, a great finish, and get ready to gear up and put the pedal down for 72 holes in U.S. Open fashion.
Here's my question, kind of going back to the positional bomber plus versus just pure bomber approach. On average, on the par 4s, mainly, and the reachable par 5s. So only the par 4s and the reachable par 5s for this question. If I nuke off the tee, but I'm in the rough, is that better than if I'm in the fairway, but I'm 30 yards back? Who is more likely to hit the green?
No, the fairway player, 100%. The rough is serious. The rough is very serious. Guys were struggling to get it towards the green. They don't want to nuke it over the green to be in the rough. They'd rather chip up from the fairway. If they're going to be short, so they're going to play up short and try to roll it up. Therefore, the misses are going to be short. Obviously, short of the greens aren't the worst place in the world to miss. You can get up and down from there, but that just leads to even more scrambling. But that being said, it's way easier to hit a green from 30 yards back in the fairway than 30 yards ahead in the rough.
And I think that's important because I've just seen a lot of stuff. And personally, I think the data, and this is where I love doing boots and looking at the data and tying them together and seeing like, okay, does this all align? And I think the stats don't back up necessarily Torrey being this place where only you got to launch it off the tee and everybody's in the rough. It doesn't really matter, accuracy versus distance. It's all just send it. The data doesn't necessarily back that up. And when you filed the boots report today, that was kind of the first thing that came to mind for me was just like, if there's no hope of hitting the green from the rough, then your only hope is being in the fairway, regardless of how far you nuke it down there. And so I think that's interesting. And I think the other thing that you mentioned that was interesting that also ties into what the stats might show is that the around the green rough is as deep as you've ever seen at a tournament. You even heard Jason Day, who's a Torrey merchant. We talked about him on Sunday, Torrey merchant, Jason Day. He said it was super deep. So that's standing out to him, a guy who's played there before. Do you think the rough is going to be so challenging around the greens that it's legitimately impossible to chip it close consistently and it becomes a little bit of a game of luck like we've seen at Oak Hill, for example, where a place like Hovland had success, and it really falls down to the putter and making those 5, 10, 15 footers, which is what the data supports here? Is that what you're seeing from the around the green conditions?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a game of luck in terms of your lie, and then obviously from there you got to be a good putter, and even I do think the batter on the green players are going to be okay because the shots around the green are fairly basic, But if you're short-sided, kind of forget it. If you have a bad lie, kind of forget it. If you got to ship down the slope, kind of forget it. So Jason Day noted that, like you said, that this is really thick, and he wouldn't just outwardly say that if it wasn't the case, because he plays this event and had so much success at this event so many times. He was also on the green speaking about, yes, this pin is cake, like down the bottom of 18. Also down the bottom of 18, the Sunday pin, not as steep as you think, as it looks on TV. It's a lot more, not
And the
flat, but it's a lot
pond,
flatter than
I've been to Torrey once. I played the North, but the pond is much smaller than it looks on TV.
much smaller than it looks on TV. Much smaller than it looks on TV. So yeah, like you can't even really see it from the tee unless you're like elevated on the tee. But if you're standing just to the side of the tee, you can't see the pond. But on the camera, you can easily see it. So yeah, he was talking about like, yeah, just down the slope, it's a basic chip. Just let it roll down there. But if you have to chip from the back rough to the back left pin, you're in trouble. So obviously missing the right spots. That's a strokes gain strategy. Strokes gain caddy is huge, I think, in that
Strokes gained
regard.
course history.
Strokes gain course history, yeah, I do think that's also important. But the rough is no joke, both on the greens and I mean on the fairways, and it's only going to get thicker with this weather. I'm going to be out there. I hope I survive, honestly, because I have no dog in that regard. But it's going to be wet tomorrow through the rest of the week. The rough is only going to get thicker and wetter. It's going to be even tougher. So
Yeah, that's the
sure.
thing. The weather report on Thursday and Friday looks like all of the things that you're talking about
Okay.
amplified, because the wind was the wind. What was the
Yeah.
strength of the wind today? It was there, because I can
Okay.
look up
The
what the
one
wind was
was.
today and compare it like we
I,
do to what it's going to be on Thursday and Friday. Let me check.
I do want you to look it up actually, because or after the pod you can put it on the site. On 3T, Cam Davis, our guy, was sitting up there and he picked up some grass. He said this feels 35. And it was straight into the wind comes off of the water, obviously. It was straight into the face. And that hole was playing 210. So I'm not sure exactly what club he hit, but it was 35-mile-an-hour wind, 210-yard hole, obviously plays a ton downhill, but it was whipping. And it got heavier during the day. It wasn't just like it was there. Sometimes it just kept gradually getting harder and harder. It was even there in the morning. Like it was just whipping all day. And I think when the weather kicks up, when it rains, it's gonna be windier even in the mornings, in the afternoon. Just the entire day is gonna be windy, rainy, and difficult.
That's interesting, because I have the wind nowngers, and the wind today they're saying was 13 on average, which is the same as what it's
13.
going to which is the same as what it's going to be on Friday. But tomorrow is going to be 16 on average, which is the same of what's going to be on Thursday. So tomorrow's boots is going to correspond with the Thursday round, and you get today's boots with the Friday round. But either way, I mean, we experienced it when we played the Monarch Bay this weekend
Yeah.
on the bay here in California. The wind on the said 8-10 miles an hour, but it was like 4 or 5 clubs, because it was, depending on how you got it and what angle it was coming from, it's just directly into. So actually, speaking of that, if you had set yourself an over under of what you would shoot at Torrey before you got there, knowing what you know from watching it on TV so many times, do you think you would shoot better or worse than you thought you'd shoot before you got there?
Great question. Better or worse than what I thought? I think I would shoot worse because it's so freaking long. Like I knew it was long, but it's longer than I think. And
And
I'm
you're,
not a golfer.
yeah,
What'd you say?
you're pure positional.
Purely positional.
Florida
So
golfer.
yeah, it's long. It's definitely long. And like I'm not I don't hit the ball far, so I would be I think I'd probably make double every hole. Because
You
there's like you're not gonna like hit it out of bounds, but you're gonna have to hack and get up there.
Everything you're saying, just kind of about the vibe of the course and your experience so far, as a Bermuda specialist, as someone Jupe Life, as someone who lives in Florida and would represent the vibes of the Jupe Life players, this is your first POA boots, right? And
Yeah.
I'm sensing just some general, it's a little new to you. It's a little foreign. Everything
Yeah.
about Torrey Pines is just a little unconventional for you. Is that, do you think you're feeling some of that?
Oh, 100%. I was definitely out of my element like once I got to the West Coast. And I'm a Florida guy for sure. But yeah, I think I would struggle on these greens on this golf course for sure. I think if we played here head to head, I think you'd have me here because your left miss you'd be fine. You could just hit it anywhere and then just be
Pack it up.
prime Jacob Bridgman on the greens. So like yeah, we're good.
So Rory, number one on the boots report, nuking off the tee, finding fairways, looking confident. You didn't see Scotty. You're going to get eyes on him tomorrow. But
6:40 a.m. tomorrow.
Bright and early. I saw he was out there today. We didn't get any eyes on him, but you'll have eyes on him tomorrow. But one thing you did say in the Boots report, obviously I don't think you've made any bets quite yet, but you said you're strongly considering the without market. But you didn't say without Scotty, or you didn't say without Scotty and Rory. You said before the week that you thought Scotty was going to win. You also said before the week that you would not bet Rory at any odds, even though you feel really confident about his game, because fundamentally, as a man, you don't think it's right to bet a guy to win a tournament twice in a row. That's something that you stand for.
Yeah.
So what's with the without market? What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, you basically just said it. That's the reason. I've never bet in the without market. Maybe one time before, but going into the tournament, I was pretty confident in Scotty. Also liked Rory, and then what I saw from Rory today was really, really good stuff. So if I'm not going to bet a 3-1 Scotty, I'm not going to bet a 7-8-1 Rory, whatever he is. I didn't even look off of trying to win back to back, but Rory can definitely open the floodgates and win back to back on a golf course that fits him perfectly. Why wouldn't I do it? I don't know. Why wouldn't I? Is it not morally right? But whatever.
Scotty, I will say, is plus 525 from our friends at Bet Online. That has got to be the longest odds on Scotty in quite some time.
Since Bay Hill.
When you were on him.
Had him.
Like, I know it's against the ROI, but for example, on the site this year, the way we're doing it, you can choose whatever bet you want to place, win the competition that we're doing. Is there a world where you would do a one-off Scotty bet if you saw him positional bombing plus tomorrow, break the ROI rules because we were at 525?
I would have to be 13x at the Rocket in order to do that, but I don't think I'm going to get there because just like I like some guys, and we talked about this multiple times. When you're at Boots, you realize how good guys are down the board. Just look at what we saw at Waste. I bet a massive card at Waste of golfers down the board, and it was all golfers down the board that were in the mix. I surely think that some of these golfers down the board can either win, and if not win, finish second or third behind Scotty or Rory, and then hopefully cash one of those. So I do think I'm going to go with that potentially morally wrong without market this week. And I'm definitely going to ask some people tomorrow, maybe put a poll out. How are we feeling? Are we going to go with the without market? Because I know some of you guys do it more often than me, but I want to know the general consensus of the golf community, what we're going to
do. The next guys in the range of despair, JT, Colin, they're kind of the ringleaders this week. They have been for a while of the range of despair. Actually, JT drifted out of the range of despair, even higher up the board. He's fallen back into the range of despair.
Okay.
And the range of despair is basically like the 14 to 25 range of guys who never win. And you bet them and they ruin your whole card because it means that you put so much energy into them. Range of despair. Any hope for the guys in the range of despair this week? Any interest in them? I don't know if you saw Colin or JT out there today.
And I also want to keep going with what you said before. Like the only golfers to win at like the sub 15 number are Rory, Scotty, and Xander. And it would make a ton of. They're both in the field playing great. Like I think it makes a ton of sense for them to win.
Not just sub 15. The only players to win since 2023. I don't know when in 2023, but at some point in 2023 on the PGA Tour, under 20-1, Scotty, Rory, Xander.
Yeah, so that's another reason to back why I'm going to do what I'm going to do. JT and Colin, two guys that are going to be out tomorrow, did not see. I think going right now, I think I prefer Justin Thomas, but it's not a strong take. It's really not a strong take. I think JT is a little bit more confident off the tee, even though he didn't look great off the tee last week to me visually. He's going to be a little bit longer. But if Colin is minting fairways, which he should, are we good? You hear me? Then maybe Colin. I'm gonna wait for that take on the DFS report tomorrow because that's definitely a really good question. Colin or JT?
Yeah, and that's what's up on the site. We've got the DFS picks. We'll have one and done. We'll have the outrights. Vincent will be involved. Liv. What I was going to say too, when your mic got destroyed, there was we saw
Imagine it
people.
broke. It broke 2 mics in 1 week.
We saw people in the comments upset with the audio quality of the last pod, which is fair, very fair.
As they should.
What we said it a million times. Strokes Gained Dog is getting feedback and improving. We appreciate the supporters, both on the pod and on the site and in the Discord, so much. We really do. We really genuinely can't do this without you. And because of that, you went out, got a new mic for today, a cheap one just to get through this pod. And we'll get things reassessed in Florida. But I wanted to note that we heard people with the audio, and we're trying to make it better. It's not going to be great. This is a blue collar pod. We have to remember that, but we will continue to do our best to improve. And there was somebody who gave like a detailed explanation of how to make it better.
Thank you for that.
Leadership, that is appreciated. That is awesome. So back to Torrey. We're not going to talk about Hideki because nothing Hideki does in a practice rounds matters completely. No. It's so much better to not talk about Hideki. Sungjae Jers is finally above the line where I can consider betting Sungjae.
What is it, 20 for you?
30. And he's all the way to 35. It's been so long since Sungjae has been above my don't bet Sungjae. Now, I'm still pretty much not interested in it, but legitimately no one on the earth besides Willie knows Sungjae better than you. Do you have any new Sungjae information?
It's not, I wouldn't say it's a new Sungjae information, but Sungjae is a golfer who admittedly does not have dog. He complains in the situations of poor weather. Poor conditions. Like, he's not used to it. We know Sungjae, like where he's won, Palm Beach and the desert. Like, it's just dome golf, calm. And they in Korea, they practice at these massive facilities that look fake. Like, he needs the pristine conditions. This is not a spot for Sungjae, even though he's got the course history. That's on a normal San Diego sunny afternoon. This is not going to be a normal San Diego sunny afternoon, which I'm really damn pissed about because I wanted to see San Diego. And once I get off the course, I'm like, I'm going to shower because this is absurd. So yeah, Sungjae out.
That's actually your San Diego situation was the first time I ever went to San Diego. It was super cloudy. The cloud level never burned off and it was kind of cold. And I was like, why does everybody talk about San Diego like it's the greatest place in the world? Because it's not. Every time I've been back since, it is the greatest place in the world. So you just got the bad. I think the first time, that's how San Diego treats people. Because if it was nice the first time everybody went there, no one would ever leave. And there'd be too many people in San Diego and they can't have that. So you'll come back. We'll come back. We'll play Torrey, and the weather will be good for you again. But there's the Sungjae information. I will say, I think he plays better than what you just described. I think he does a classic Sungjae T8 backdoor finish. But what you just told me, now I'm not even going to consider him at 35-1, which is honestly good. I didn't want to have to.
You probably regret it. So yeah,
I'd easily regret it. Here's a guy who I'd consider more of a bomber. We talked about him on the pod. Any eyes on Rasmus? I can't remember. Did you see Rasmus at all? Is he out there?
Did not see Rasmus today. No.
Okay, he was the next guy on the board. So I didn't think you had seen him. There's a number on. Here's another number on a guy that just seems high. Pat Ice, West Coast. Not Merchant. I don't think because he won at Sherwood, so I guess he has a win on the West Coast. But we know he's a California guy. Seems like, of course, he should play well. Hasn't. Any intel on Pat Cantlay?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good number, which maybe I'll consider it more that I didn't really look too deep into the numbers going in, but I looked at Patrick Cantlay's profile and I saw scattered off the tee, scattered on approach, just kind of hit or miss in those categories. And today I saw him not hitting the driver too great, looked decent with the irons, but nothing really like, Pat looks really nice. He looked much better in Hawaii. So I'm gonna, as of now, I'm out, but I definitely am gonna see him tomorrow. Hopefully, get a better report on him because 35 is a great number for sure on Pat.
Pendy apparently is the most popular golfer in the world this week.
Is he?
Yes, that is what I'm hearing. That is what I'm hearing about Pendy. He's been driving it long and straight. Yeah, he can drive it long and straight. He's played well here before. He's kind of I'm not convinced that he's actually a good putter. Sometimes he's a good putter, but I'm still not sold on that. But he's popular. But his odds are 40-1 on Pendy in a signature event. Pendy's lone win coming at the CJ Cup. You were on him.
100 to 1.
Yeah. You know Pendy. You hit him 100 to 1 at the Byron Nelson. He's 40 to 1 this week. Did you see him, and what do you think about Pendy being the world's most popular golfer this week?
Yeah, I bet Pendy, I think, a better number at the Farmers, and obviously a much weaker field. He played fine, but was never in the mix. I had a really interesting take on Pendy. I think he spins the ball too much with all of his clubs in these wins. So he's going to hit a really high ball, really spinny ball. If he's off the slightest bit, he's going to be in the rough. He's not going to be able to control it. So therefore, I'm going to be out on Pendy. I just don't think the way he hits the ball is pristine for these conditions. So he didn't look horrible today, but I just saw him hitting really spinny golf balls, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to see what you bet Pendy at the Farmers, because I think that's was he at the
60
that's 35 to 1. So 35 to 1.
Oh,
So
sorry.
just a hair below this number. I guess he's drifted a tiny bit since then, but either way, about the same number against a weaker field a few weeks ago. I think he plays fine. Like I get the idea behind it. Good driver, good tee to green.
Yeah, I mean, he's played well here before. I don't hate it, but just I'm out.
Yeah, but I'm 1,000% out on betting him at these current odds. A guy who a lot of people, I think, are interested in. I think we may need 2 days worth of boots on this guy because of how crucial the boots report is on him specifically. This is a man we talked about on the Sunday pod. And if you haven't listened to the Sunday pod, generational pod, to say the least. We've gotten some great feedback on the pod. We were flying so high off of the Eagles money line that it carried us through to a truly generational pod. I kind of felt like today's pod a little bit like when a golfer shoots a really low round. You go out and you fire a 61. It's not easy to come back the next day and play great golf. So we're trying to just grind out like a 68, a 69. We don't want to have like a 74 and step backwards. But we talked about Ludwig Ober, Viking Cup, not the heart and soul of the team anymore, but definitely a key member of the Viking Cup roster. He won this tournament going away a few weeks ago by 9 shots. He was on the way to the Grand Slam. It was over. And then he came down with an illness. He was sick. Played horrifically at Pebble, withdrew from the tournament. You've got eyes on him. Did you get a look at his medical records? What did you see from Ludwig? Because what a roller coaster it's been. And just 3 weeks ago, I think he was most tipped at like 10 to 1.
Yeah, something like that.
So 28 to 1.
28. Definitely drop a comment on this video if you would buy a shirt that says Vince Eric's on the front and on the back X player. You have an option of like 5 players, generational striper. Because that's what I saw from Ludwig today. Generational stripes from Ludwig today. It looked healthy. It wasn't like walking extremely upbeat and confident, but he looked fine. He wouldn't be here if I don't think if he felt like shit because he withdrew from a signature event. I know he probably still got paid for that signature event because he teed it up, but I don't think he'd be here. He got that week off and stripes, absolute stripes. He talked so highly about Torrey Pines after he shot that low round on Thursday, even though it wasn't a North course. He likes his chances around here. And I mean, I said it in the Torrey Pines podcast last time, like back at the Farmers, that I would bet Ludwig at a certain number in this field, and we're getting the numbers that we were looking for. So I'm in on Ludwig, I think. I really do. I haven't placed anything yet, but early leans Tuesday PM in on Ludwig.
Do you have any concerns that he might be a North course merchant?
Were you
on him 2 years ago when he came here?
Yeah.
I remember. What did you think of his performance that week?
He played. He missed like too many short putts, but he played fine.
What you just said is why I think I'm out on Ludwig. The short putts. Okay. I do not trust him to make the putts that he will need to make to win this tournament. And I think that even if you generationally stripe this week, you're going to end up needing to scramble and make putts no matter what. Because we talked about in the Sunday pod, maybe did you see this today from guys? And then there's a specific guy that I would ask you on this front. On the 40-footers. Usually when you're tracking a guy on the app and he's playing Torrey, it goes from 40 feet to like 8 feet 11 inches or 6 feet 7 inches. It's never one of those that goes down to 2 feet and you're like, all right, we're moving on to the next hole. My guy didn't jack. Is that what you saw out there on the greens?
Yeah, and I will say I saw more guys practicing like sneaky lag putts than we've ever seen. And I noted this in last pod on Sunday. Every single boots we noticed different guys practicing like all the guys practicing the same thing because they practice to what's important in a given week. And so many guys were practicing like downhill lag putts, like massive lag putts across the green because they know that they're not going to have close proximity. They're going to have to make a ton of two putts from 50 feet and plus. So yeah, I did see that a ton. I saw a ton of getting down to tap in range from distance, which I think is super, super important this week. And also something that I didn't notice before on the course, the entrance to the greens, although like you can like run it up on most, it's so narrow. Like visually,
it really pinches down. Yeah.
It's one of the more visually intimidating courses, like in terms of like off the tee, because it's just so long and you know what the penalty is for missing a fairway. And even in the fairway, it's long and it's super, super narrow. So even if you are gen striping off the tee, you're going to have an intimidating second shot. So it's going to take like an otherworldly gen striping week if you're just going to avoid all of the danger.
Right. And I think where I'm going, and I want to
obviously no one will.
Right. And that's why I want to hear more tomorrow in the Boots Report, because it's like if no one's going to avoid it, give me as many guys who might heat up with the flat stick and might scramble their way to success. But a guy who is the world's greatest downhill putter, a man who used that skill set here at Torrey Pines and nearly won the tournament, a man who's used that skill set in major championships, a guy who was the guaranteed winner of this tournament just a couple of weeks ago. He withdrew. Since then, you've gotten reports from people who have played golf with him personally that he is going to win very soon. That man's Will Zalatoris. He's your guy. What did you see from Willie Z? And would you consider getting him on the card this week?
Yeah, Vince our subscribers, I think I probably would put him at 4th in the power rankings from today. Honestly, truthfully, missed that. But the final rankings will come out tomorrow, so we could fix that. Will Zalatoris looked awesome. He really, really did. He hit the ball good. He looked so confident. And I'll leave this for the subs, but he and his team made an awesome comment as to the current state of his game. It's a positive thing, but just go on the site and check it out because it wasn't quite JT and Rory at Castle Pines. Was that JT and Rory at Castle Pines talking about the greatest quote of all time? Yeah, it wasn't quite that level, but it was a really good quote on the state of Will Zalatoris' game. He looked awesome, looked confident, and we know he can putt these greens. We know he's got the course history here. U.S. Open guy. Definitely down for some Willie Z in all markets for sure. $7,900 on DraftKings. That's on our list.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's insane because everything you've described about this golf course is a Will Zalatoris golf course. Who has the mentality for grinding in major championships? This is Will Zalatoris golf. My issue with Zal, usually from a betting perspective, is that he's like 30-1, 35-1. And he really, I mean, we've been on some heartbreaking losses of his together. We've suffered those painful defeats. I don't necessarily trust him at the very end of the tournament to show that dog to win the event. But at 55-1, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Bobby Mack last week, where it kind of skipped over everybody at the top of the board, started with Bobby Mack around 60 and allowed me, and I think you did the same, to have like more options down the board. I kind of feel that way about Willie Z right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. So Willie Z looked awesome. He's my favorite golfer in the world. Hope for the best of him. I'm not sure if I'm going to get there at whatever price is, but like don't be scared if your guy goes out plus 2 through 9 this week. It's going to happen to one of the top guys you bet, and they're going to be fine. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be fine, but they're fine.
It's going to be a 72-hole golf tournament. You're never going to be out of it if you keep grinding, and you're never going to be guaranteed to win if you're playing great. Like, danger is going to be lurking. Would you say double bogey is just going to be available at any point? Driving the rough, hack out, miss the green, hack out, miss the putt, double bogey.
I would honestly rank like the holes that I think it's 4 and 17 that are treble left off the tee. Those are some of the most intimidating drives that I've ever seen. Like I would, because you go left, you're making a double. You go right, you're just hitting into the bunker or into the thickest rough on the course. Like it's just absurd drives visually.
As a Louis loyalist,
I know.
A man who rode Louis at Torrey, I trust me. I know about the left miss on 17. I know it well. So if your guy's in the mix, I'm really glad that Max won at Torrey and I was on him, because I had such pain in my heart every time Torrey was played, and now at least I have something positive to look back on.
I don't remember that. Did he cleanly like get through 17? Did he just hit it in the fairway?
I think he went in the right bunker, but I think he was so far ahead that he got out, made par, and I think he was fine.
Okay.
Is this place about as opposite of Valhalla drives as you've ever seen?
Yeah, like truthfully, yeah. I mean, a lot of courses are, but this is opposite of Valhalla drives. So intimidating.
Pure vibes. Take out anything you saw them do from a golf standpoint. Who was Vibiest player of the day?
Vibiest player of the day. It was a tad windy. Vibiest player of the day, I would say probably Akshay, because he had a contingent of 9 people. 9. It looked like a live squad. I forgot to write that down. I forgot to write that down in the report. He had 9 people with him. I don't like they all were like doing something. Some guys were videoing him, some guys were putting the GC quad down. But Akshay was with his team. I thought I was looking for other golfers. I was like, oh, we got like 2 or 3 guys here. No, it was Akshay and 9 others.
Solo prep.
Yeah, he was solo prep. He's a hard solo prepper, but yeah, Akshay was vibing hard.
That's sick. That's sick. I like Akshay. Yeah. What did he do? So now I do need to know. How is he hitting it?
It was one of the most unique boots reports I've ever seen. Gen striping, horrible ARG, horrible putting. Like I saw him hit some right, which makes sense with the around the green with Akshay. I could see that, but he hit the ball much better than I saw him hit the ball last week. Like he was there early, but his ball striking kind of let him down off the tee, specifically at Waste Management. But he looked a lot better in terms of ball striking this week.
Last guy. Obviously, everything's going to be up on the site. There's going to be a whole nother day's worth of boots tomorrow. Like we said, we'd probably get as close to bootsing the whole field as we've ever gotten before. Picks will be up there. Models will be up there. Vincent will be up there. Vincent's sitting up there in the cloud. He knows it's almost time for him to get his live picks in. He's been studying Live Adelaide. He's been learning who is an Adelaide golf specialist. But the last guy I want to talk to is a man that you don't have to get a boots report on. You don't have to look at the data. You just pull out the flow chart. You pull open the filing cabinet next to your desk. You pull out the file that has the most recent flow charts in them. You open it up and you pull out the Keegan Bradley flow chart, because Keegan Bradley has a very simple flow chart. Yep. Rain. Is it raining? If yes, you bet Keegan. If no, continue on, assess in a different manner. But it looks like it's going to rain. It sounds like it's going to rain. He's played great here before. He has 3 top 5 finishes. He wins. He's got dog. He's been generationally striping off the tee for
he wants to win
a long time. Ryder Cup captain. He's grinding harder than we've ever seen from him. He's 60-1. I'm almost certainly going to bet it. There's a 70 earlier, but I didn't quite act fast enough, so maybe something pops back up again. But any side of Keegan, and are you interested in the flow chart this week?
I would say I would put Keegan in the not many guys look better category. He looked so comfortable and happy to be there, and doesn't care about the weather. I mean, you're a Northeast guy, you have dog. So yeah, I'm with you on. I don't know if I'm gonna bet him. I don't bet Keegan. These are the numbers I do bet Keegan at, but I'm not sure if I really see it, to be honest. I fully agree with what you're saying, and I would not steer you off of it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get there personally.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's the Boots Report. That's the finale of Boots West. We need to make a clip with some.
We actually have one more. We have one more. This ended up being a double Boots, which we didn't know. Because yesterday I played Costa North, host of the NCAA Division I championship. So when that comes and we get betting odds, I will have that absolutely dialed. Played 18 holes there.
How'd you play?
I didn't play great. I mean, I played okay. It was a very long. I think the second longest course I've ever played. You couldn't really miss in some spots. There was some stick stuff, but I could have played better. Overall, I would say it was a 6 out of 10 performance. But once the odds come out, like where teams are on the odds, we're gonna have that dial. Full pot.
I remember watching Luke Clance and Gordon Sargent play in there last year because it's hosting it for a few years in a row. I think it's like locked.
Yeah, last year and this year, I believe. I think
the back nine I remember being pretty sick. Was the back nine sick?
Super sick course. Super sick course. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Your live card's in. The live card's gonna be up on the site. I said you just submitted that a few minutes ago, so I'm about to hop off, take a look at that, and dial in on live as well. Jers, bundle up. The last thing we need is you getting sick on the final day of Boots West. You're going to be out there early. You're going to be up on the site. You're going to be in the Discord. You're going to be posting up on the site. Anything else for the people? Anything else the people need to know from anything that took place? Because we should have said this on the last pod. You have inside Boots reporting on Aaron Rodgers and where he's going. And I would say what's happening so far is going your direction of what you reported then. Anything? Well, tomorrow's the pro-am, but are you going to keep your eyes out for any non-golf related breaking news that you might be able to deliver to the site?
Oh, always. I mean, my brain is 99% golf. So when that 1% is going to be on non-sports related things, and hopefully we can find some more breaking news tomorrow in the final day of Boots West.
All right. Peace out, sir.